wanted to get into some interesting audio from head coach Ron Rivera when he was asked about Sam Howell post-practice yesterday out at training camp in Ashburn. And we're going to play that clip, and then we will dissect what he said post-clip. Hit it, Valdez.
Well, I think it's to me it's right now this is all the growth and development opportunity. This is a chance to learn the base fundamentals of our offense, and he's been doing it since OTAs and minicamp. Now we're in training camp. We're in our eighth day now. So all these things are coming together. What you really need to look for is when we get on the field. When we do game plan, when we do prepare. I know it's just preseason games, but those are going to be paramount to telling everybody where he is, what's his growth. And at the same time, as I've said don't sleep on Jacoby. He's done a nice job as well. I mean, we got some really good quarterback play going on right now. We've got a real good quarterback room. We're very happy with what we've got right now. And again, we just want to continue to see the growth. So now when we go into those meetings and I listen to Eric and I listen to Vita talk about what he's doing, how he's doing it, and listen to Luke and his opinion and Kenny Zampese. I mean, we got four guys really dedicated to the development of the one position. I think that's real, that's a good start for us, and I think it's been a good start for him in camp.
So for all of you Howell Hivers out there that think it's just a lock and a guarantee that Sam is the starter week one, is going to have the job all 17 weeks, I mean, when Ron was asked about Sam Howell and his development, he interjected Jacoby Brissett unprompted. He just threw it in there.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think that is a big wrinkle.
I don't think he's BSing.
No.
He BS's a lot, but
right.
He's not BSing here. And he's kind of saying what we've been saying for the last few weeks is, they probably still have the questions that we have as fans.
So he mentioned Tavita. That's Tavita Pritchard, the quarterback's coach. Luke is the assistant quarterback's offensive quality control coach. Look, all the coaches are going to look at every pass that they make in training camp of both guys, and the likely guy to start is going to be Sam Howell. But Jacoby Brissett is not far behind, and I think he'll get a chance to play if this team struggles.
And I said this a few months ago, before Brissett was even brought in. I felt like if you really have the fixing and you're completely sold on Sam Howell, then you don't go out and get a backup as good and as accomplished as Jacoby Brissett. You would have gone out and gotten like Cooper Rush was a free agent. They could have brought him in. If they really love Sam Howell, they'd be like, Sam's our guy, and if it falls apart, we'll toss it to Cooper Rush. But this seems like, well, we like Sam, and we're happy we drafted him where we did when we picked him, but we just went out and spent $8 million on a backup on a one-year deal in Jacoby Brissett, who played way better than Deshaun Watson did, leading the Cleveland Browns before Watson came back from his suspension last year.
All right.
So, I mean, I think this competition is closer than a lot of people tend to think. And would I be surprised if at the end of camp, Bieniemy and Ron said, Brissett's our guy for week one? It would surprise me a little bit. But
I would be a little surprised
I wouldn't be completely stunned by it.
I'm going to put that up as the Junkies poll of the day, brought to you by Van Meter Homes. Would you be surprised if Jacoby Brissett is your week one starter? We can take your calls at 800-636-1067. I do think what he says indicates that Jacoby has a shot at it. It might be a long shot, but it's not fait accompli.
And what Ron's saying, and again, it's kind of obvious, but he's saying, let's see how he progresses once we start playing games, right? And that when we game plan for that, how does he handle the game plans for other teams, not just the Commanders' defense? So I think that, I mean, they probably have the same questions that we have.
And again, for the Howell Hivers, please listen to me. Please listen. Ron's job is not to develop Sam Howell. Ron's job is to win as many games as he can to try to survive and get an extension or be kept on by Josh Harris.
I agree.
Ron doesn't care how he gets his wins. I don't think Ron really cares that much whether it's Sam Howell or Brissett. He just wants the guy that's going to get him 10-plus wins and keep this team in playoff contention. And if they think it's Brissett that gives him a better chance, then they're going to go with Brissett.
Drabby, Ron Rivera has the same questions that we all have about Sam Howell.
Well,
we don't know how he's going to progress. once they start playing games.
Right.
Look, Ron is a professional hedger. He's the world's best hedger.
He's a waffle.
He
poo.
He waffles. Yeah, he'll never give you a direct answer. But if you would ask anybody in this room 2 days ago, is there a possibility that Jacoby Brissett starts week 1? I don't think any of us would have put that above 2%.
I wouldn't have said that. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, we were all thinking, how's the guy until he gets a chance to fail on the big stage?
Right.
Now, from what those comments are, those were jarring.
Maybe we haven't been listening to
Definitely.
Rivera, though, because remember, Rivera a month or two ago said they had like 2 QB1s. It was something weird. Where
Right.
he was like, yeah, he's QB1, but Jacoby Brissett's QB1 too.
It's just I never. Sam Howell can play himself out of the starting position through preseason.
Yes.
Of course he
That's
could.
what I. That's basically what I learned.
Right.
Is that
Or-
if,
and
if
maybe-
Sam Howell stinks,
He's got to be really bad, though, I think.
I don't even think it has to be really bad.
What if
Yeah, well-
what if they're seeing in practices all this 11 on 11? We've talked about it. I mean, I don't think it's that big of a deal when they're interceptions, and Brissett's had interceptions. But if they're like looking at Sam Howell and saying, man, we love his arm, we love his ability, but his decision making is
And-
poo.
Yeah.
We've also learned
Is Bieniemy loyal to Sam Howell? I don't think
Well,
I
so.
don't think so.
Also-
No, of course.
Ron isn't loyal to his quarterbacks either.
Right.
He went with Carson Wentz when Heineke saved his ass for the second time. He said, we're not going to you. We're going to throw the ball to this big red-headed goofball Carson Wentz and lose the game, the critical game against the Browns.
Yeah.
So he's not loyal to anybody. He just is. He is in survival mode, and he needs 10 wins or more to have any shot at staying here.
Preseason just turned out to be very important.
Yes.
Well, that's why I said the other day when we were talking about the first game against, they're playing Cleveland in the first preseason game.
Yes.
I think they got to play Howell for at minimum a first half. You know, a lot of these times you'll see the first quarterback play a few series in the first quarter.
I tend to agree with you, but I think I think Hal will get.
You think he's only going to get a quarter?
I think he's going to get a quarter of action.
If preseason's going to determine who Ron is starting week 1, then you better play a half.
Maybe
I think you got to play half.
Wrong.
Now the problem is you don't want to play your starting quarterback behind, an offensive line that's not going to be your first unit. You don't want to play him
Right.
behind the second unit to risk injury. But I think if they have the questions about how he performs in game plans and these preseason games, I think you got to see him more than you would a standard starting quarterback
You can weigh
in the first week.
on
And
the-
of course, there's only 3 preseason games.
Right.
And that last one, you're probably not going to – if they know who the starting quarterback's going to be against the Cardinals in week 1, you're not going to see that guy much in the third preseason game.
Was it as jaw-dropping to the listeners as it was to us, the comments from Ron Rivera about Jacoby Brissett when he was asked about Sam Howell? 800-636-1067 is the number. Of course, you're welcome to weigh in an open line Thursday.
Commanders fans, does it change your opinion now that you heard Ron Rivera talking about this and saying
Right,
Jacoby Brissett? Don't sleep on Jacoby.
Right. We're going to play the comments from Ron again in case you missed them. Here's Ron after practice yesterday when he was asked about Sam Howell.
What you really need to look for is when we get on the field, when we do game plan, when we do prepare. I know it's just preseason games, but those are going to be paramount to telling everybody where he is, what's his growth. And at the same time, as I've said don't sleep on Jacoby. He's done a nice job as well. I mean,
Going back to June, this is what he said on Pro Football Talk with Michael David Smith, or this is on Pro Football Talk. He said, just because I said he's going to start off as QB1 doesn't mean he's going to finish as QB1. I like to believe, though, that if Sam Howell, goes out and does the thing he's capable of, he's got a very good chance of doing that. I think Jacoby has shown us some things that have really gotten people's attention. We talk about Jacoby almost as much as we talk about Sam. I just think as we go through this process until we play games, it'd be unfair to start making assessments. Valdez nailed it. He's hedging. He's been hedging all along. Maybe we weren't listening.
Mm-hmm.
He was hedging before preseason or training camp, and he's still hedging. Now, just because you're hedging, that doesn't
Master
mean
hedger.
it doesn't mean you're 50-50.
Right.
I think, but he's saying, look, if Sam struggles, they're going to go to Jacoby, and it may be faster than you think.
Ron loves waffle fries.
Well, who doesn't? They're delicious. Just sprinkled with zesty seasoning. They're fantastic. 800-636-1067 is the number.
Is there a team in the NFL right now? What are you guys laughing about?
Because Valdez got credit from
Oh,
Howell.
that's right. You said the hedger.
Yeah.
You're both master hedgers. Hey, is there a team right now
They want the back
on,
counting machine.
on August 3rd that has more uncertainty at the quarterback position than the Washington Commanders? I would throw out Tampa. Okay.
Okay, but I would
Because-
guess that they're leaning on Baker Mayfield.
No, I think
like
they
he's
are.
more.
Well, they said
But
I think
Trask
that's
looks,
still-
Trask looks good apparently.
I think there's still uncertainty in Tampa because I don't know if Baker Mayfield's the future.
Right.
Is my point. But is there more uncertainty? Is there a team with more uncertainty right now heading into the first week of preseason than Washington? I don't think there is.
I would put maybe the Cardinals, the Commanders' Week 1 opponent. But
Well,
just
no, because you know Kyler Murray's the guy.
okay, but he's
I mean,
like
he signed a big extension. And
sure, but like as far
If
as
he's
this
healthy.
season, he's probably not going to start Week 1. He might not.
No, he's not.
He might
No.
not play till like Week 10.
Right, but when
if he
he's healthy,
plays.
you know he's the number one
True.
guy.
True.
I'm
I
just
mean,
saying.
maybe but they're in situations where eventually guys can take over. Like you don't know who's going to start in week 1 for the Colts.
No, but you drafted a guy. You
No,
know
but
he's the
but you
future.
haven't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know
you
your
have an
future.
answer.
Yes, in terms of the future, it's completely up in the air.
I
here.
know the worst quarterback matchup in Week 1 is happening at FedEx Field with either Sam Howell / Brissett and Colt
Colt
McCoy. I defy you to find a worse pair of quarterbacks.
Now
going at it.
maybe I'll throw out Green Bay because Jordan Love's going to be the guy, but
Right.
he's obviously been sitting behind Aaron Rodgers for a while. You don't have no idea of how good or bad he's going to be, but at least you know he's the number one.
Right. He's the dude.
the true number one.
Right.
800-636-1067 if you want to chime in. I don't think it's a disaster, though. If it doesn't work out, like if Jacoby Brissett is better in training camp and he's better in the preseason and Ron does the unexpected, they start Jacoby Brissett in week 1.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's a disaster situation. He's just a better guy. The disaster situation would be playing the guy who's not good enough. If Sam Howell isn't good enough to beat out Jacoby Brissett, he's not the future.
Absolutely. And again,
Don't force it.
why did they pick Jacoby Brissett as the backup?
He was
Because
the best
he was
available.
the best guy on the market that they could bring in here on
As
a
a
one-year
backup.
deal
Right.
in case Sam Howell didn't work out and or fell on his face.
Look, Atlanta kind of did the same thing. I'm not saying that Heineke's better than Brissett, but at least Heineke had some considerable experience
right.
in the last couple years, and they gave him a bunch of money at
Mhm.
backup because they're uncertain
Right.
about Desmond Ridder.
Yep.
So I think that's a good point.
Yep.
Dude, Ron doesn't have complete faith. If you just look back, again, what he said in June, what he said a week ago when they started training camp, he was asked, what's the biggest question? He said quarterback.
Yeah.
He didn't say we have our quarterback. He said the biggest question is quarterback.
And then I would follow that up with my biggest question about Ron is your ability to find a decent quarterback because you haven't been good at that in your 4 years here in Washington.
Well, that's
He said
why-
the biggest unknown, here was the quote, I think more than anything else, it will start with the quarterback position. That's about as big a question as it gets. Has Sam grown and developed enough to help us take the next step? Is Jacoby ready to go and compete if he gets the chance? Will he take us to the next level?
How alarmed are you as Commanders fans by hearing the quotes from Ron post-practice yesterday when he was asked about Sam Howell and then he just interjected Jacoby Brissett into the mix? 800-636-1067. We'll take your calls on that next.